So, this is going to be the fastest way in a nutshell. This is why the Boy Scouts got raped by this church. The true reason, not the reason they want you to believe, which is it was a happy accident. It wasn't. It was by design. What happened with that is Jasmine told me that the church things were low and all the emotionally stunted people were put in a mental home, so we needed to make more emotionally stunted people. She doesn't call them emotionally stunted. She called it the desirable psychology, which is emotionally stunted, which I'm going to read again for the millionth fucking time. Here it is. If you get raped in the ass or traumatized as a kid, this is your psychology, and it is not a psychology, it's a mental disorder, and you need psychological help. It's not a personality. So don't tell people it's a personality, thank you. Chronic self-absorbed, self-preoccupied behavior. They think of themselves first, limited or complete lack of empathy, lack of guilt or remorse, disregard for your well-being and safety of those you love. They do what feels best. They do not learn from past mistakes and continue to repeat behaviors that have negative consequences, lack of self-reflection, inability to take your perspective, stand in your shoes. History of conflict and drama in relationships. History of denying reality due to effective realism. Reality is what it feels like versus what it is. History of distorting reality, making up new narratives about situations to deal with it. History of impulsive behavior, more feeling than thinking, so they do what feels best. Enmeshment in relationships instead of emotional intimacy. May focus on physical things versus emotional. They do not do emotional work. They do not know how to repair relationships effectively. These people are all materialistic, so if you ever heard dialectical materialism and somebody just starts screaming, I hate that, it's not real, you're dealing with this person. Because they're materialistic, because material things can't hurt your feelings. 2-year-old. Now, this is why the church began raping the Boy Scouts, because the system's straightforward. First, they emotionally stunt you. Then they tell you they got secrets for secrets, and they hit you with their bullshit. It's always the same bullshit speech. Each and one of these guys are mass-produced, and they all tell this. They emotionally stunt you and come back later to collect you. The wives revealed to me the whole raping the babies thing is all fucking about emotionally stunting people because they need mass-produced foot soldiers. And this guy is a foot soldier. He doesn't have guilt or remorse, so he doesn't feel bad about anything he does. Which reminds me, if you're ever dealing with these people and they start pretending to feel bad, ignore. With my lead brain, it was hard to detect disingenuine behavior, and that's why they poison normal people with lead to make them stupid and easy to lie to and manipulate. Okay, so they're not actually better than you. They have to make you stupid so that they can fuck with you. I now continuously think about a series of events where I should have just smashed a motherfucker's head with a rock while they were pretending to have guilt about something they did. Because they want you to forgive them! Now, the lead brain's important because that comes later. The tetralead brain, antisocial behavior, less agreeableness, means people don't like them. Addiction, anxiety, losing your peripheral nervous system's a big one because you literally lose your ability to feel and connect with other people, and you become disassociative with reality even more. You feel disconnected from everything. That's what lead causes. And I wanted to talk about that. Obviously, the addiction. Any people that human traffic or try to control other people, addiction is always a big part because the only place you can get your fix is from those people. Okay, this church, it's LSD, and before you start, the CIA didn't want LSD labeled as an addictive drug because they do LSD and they didn't want to get fucking arrested for it. So before you open your dumbass mouth, shut the fuck up before you don't know, because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Getting you addicted to shit and then telling you it's holy or special isn't anything new. Every cult does this. This is just a massive church that does this activity. I wanted to talk about the tetralead brain because the way it's done with the church leaders, this is the difference between the people who join versus the church leaders. The church leaders are exposed to the tetralead as babies, and this disassociates them from their emotions. That's why they think their emotions are coming from a higher power. I don't know where they're coming from, and I don't know how to process them. And they, for some reason, think that's a good idea. When it leads to malignant narcissism, and they worship them, so they're entitled to everything. The entitlement is literally, if you've ever been a parent, it's called the terrible twos. Your kid goes around just, that's mine. I remember I had a nephew come into my room. She was like 2 years old and just started grabbing stuff and saying, mine. And then when I took it from her, she started screaming and throwing a tantrum. And that's how these people work, but instead of like getting an ass whooping or being disciplined so they know that personal property belongs to other people and you're not entitled to anything, these people just give them everything they want and go, yeah, that's great. He's going to behave like a 2-year-old forever. So that's one of the big differences in the church leaders versus the victims of rape. Now, the process in this church is pretty straightforward. So first, you rape them to get them emotionally stunted. Once they're emotionally stunted, you traumatize them some more with a series of LSD trips and potential other types of rape. And you tell them it's not rape. That's the first thing. It's not rape. I'm just putting my dick in your ass. It's not rape. Now the second traumatization that happens to them before all this happens, the first couple times it's rounds of hypnosis to adjust your psychology. And when you're emotionally stunted, you're extremely subjective to hypnosis because your brain isn't fully developed. Your inhibitions and thought processes aren't there. So the things you want, what you know about your life, or your self-actualization isn't there. You're under that development, okay? And lead can permanently keep you from doing that as long as it's in your brain. Now, using these hypnosis, they basically hypnotize every church member to report to the church no matter what. Even if they know, so if you're friends with this person, you're like, this is my best friend, your friend will report you to the church for saying words the church doesn't like, and then they will murder your ass because your friend was hypnotized into doing that, okay? They use a series of suggestive hypnotism in this church, and some of it's like body language hypnotism, suggestive language, neurolinguistics programming hypnotism, kind of stuff to adjust the person's psychology to make them fit the church's needs. It's all about the church, trust me. These guys are mindless tools. And they become more mindless the more lead they get. And they get more lead as they progress up the ladder, and they become more stupid and submissive and easy to control, which is what this church wants. Little bit of a tangent. When I was president, there was this really smart guy in prison that was trying to figure it out, and he's basically had become a lawyer in prison from reading law book after law book after law book to get out of prison. So the guards just kept transferring him to maximum and more maximum prisons where it was harder and harder to get resources, and then they began beating him and assaulting him. And then when I questioned them about why they were doing this, they literally told me it's because he's intelligent and they hate intelligence. They hate smart people who can figure things out. They hate intelligence. That is a literal thing with them, and that is why they drink lead, because they hate intelligence. Now, it is my personal philosophy to believe that the entire complex brain and complex thought and intelligence came apart because everybody was asking God to solve their problems the same way stupid, useless people do at churches. They want God to solve all their problems. And then God said, you know what? Here's a big smart brain. Figure it out yourself. I'm leaving. I'm tired of you. You're codependent and you just terrorize me all the fucking time. I'm done. I'm going to go drink a beer. And then he left. And then everybody was like, oh no, we're intelligent and we have agency and accountability. And then these people in the church were like, we don't. We hate intelligence. We want to be stupid and terrorize God. And God was like, oh my fucking God, just forget about me and move on. I'm like, holy shit, I gave birth to you, but dude, am I tired. I remember this story of this old couple that talked about their entire lives. They just wanted to get back to having crazy, wild sex, but they had 3 kids, and they had to wait for them to grow up. And then when their kids finally grew up, they basically never saw their kids again. And they were perfectly happy with that because they could just have sex all the time. I was just like, okay, like I picture that's how God is. Get out of my house and leave me alone. Generations of stupid people, trust me. As a person that has moderate intelligence, I know the feeling. Anyways, so, and eventually they traumatize you to the point that you develop a second personality. In this place, they give you a second name and identity. And this personality is triggered at a word through hypnosis. So, and once this personality is triggered, it can basically just be told what to do. Yeah. Dissociative identity disorder. The literal splitting of the parietal part of the brain. The brain is physically traumatized from this event. I think it's the anal eaten mummy trip, but the anal eaten mummy trip is also designed to terrify men of vaginas and get them terrified of women. in this, I just want to stop real quick. It just, how twisted do you have to be like, our way of life is dying, let's go rape a bunch of kids so they join our church? That's not okay, dude. That's not okay at all. Alright. Anyways. Where was I going with this? Yeah, so they hate women, and this is the thing. A lot of the women in this church are actually in sex work. They do OnlyFans, and they make money and shit, but they're married to the guys of this church for control, because they're terrified of women self-actualizing and not needing men anymore, because then men would be useless. And that's against the natural order. We're supposed to live like baboons. It's normal. Think about it. I don't believe in evolution or Freudian psychology or any of that stuff that leads back to evolution, but I want to behave like a baboon. Like, great. I believe if a religion's indoctrination to their shit is rape, and this is a thing even the FBI talked about, rape through control, I do find... You know what, I'm going to save that for another video. Yeah. So, I guess this is a straightforward one. That's why they were actually raping the Boy Scouts. And this is a thing they do whenever their numbers are low. They just go out and start abusing kids. To get members. And it's by design. They basically go, we raped this kid. In 5 to 6 to 10 years, we're going to send somebody out and tell them to come join the church. And... I gotta wonder if you're a member of this church and you later found out that you got raped by design and your entire life was completely derailed because of it. You became the black sheep, the weirdo, people didn't like you. And this church teaches you kind of like conditional love. Conditional love's a big part with the malignant narcissist. Conditional love means you act a certain way to get love. So these people are really good at being liquids and acting a certain way to get love. I think Blondie's a great example because I think it's Mary Bowberry, I'm not sure. But he had an entire thing about collecting all the information he could about me so he could replace me and become me. So Mary Bowberry would love and accept him because he would be me. And it's all pretend. This is the thing. It's called being disingenuine. And it doesn't matter how hard you try. You're disingenuine. You are not me. At the end of the day, regardless of how much like or seeming you like me. And here's the thing. It's easy to fool people when they have lead brains. Because you don't have the full fucking complexity of your brain working. When you recover from heavy metal poisoning, you actually recognize a series of other senses that were completely dulled or even removed from you when they poisoned you with heavy metals. It is a completely mind-altering state and should be completely banned for any church to poison people with heavy metals as a ritual because it completely alters your psychology. You are not you when you're on heavy metals. Now, the conditional love's important because you basically learn that you just act or do a certain way to get a certain thing you want. And this is the basic laws of control. Control goes both ways. In order to have control, you have to act and be a certain way to get the thing you want. And the other thing has to be willing to submit to that kind of shit. Control is never, ever, ever a fucking quick one-way system, regardless of how easy something seems. Threatening people at gunpoint to get what you want is an example of that kind of shit. I'm gonna make you do it because I threatened you! And then the other person has to actually be afraid and actually submit to that. Or they can fight, and then you're gonna have a power struggle, or they can just ignore you like I did. How about that? Yeah. If you know which church raped the Boy Scouts, you now know exactly what church, I've been ranting on about. Here's a fun tip. Don't go to your friends and ask them if I'm right, because first they're gonna play it off like a joke and they're gonna we don't do that. Being disingenuine. Also now the church has to kill you. Aluminum phosphide and adrenochrome. If your friend's one of these members and they come to your house, and they offer you a coffee, close the door. they're trying to murder you.